So I started my business during COVID.
Good time to start.
I know, I lost my job, and my wife had a great idea that like, hey, you should start a business and have a baby at the same time.
Hey, this is Paul Gough. Welcome to another episode of the Paul Gough podcast and audio experience, the show that invites the world's leading PT clinic owners, those who have escaped the rat race of 9 to 5 in the treatment room. Today's very special guest has dropped in from New York. We've been spending the last 2 days together working on his business. He is a superstar. He's amazing. He's gone from zero to nearly $1 million in revenue in a fully almost out of network cash practice in New York, a very competitive area. Justin, Vaidyan, welcome to the show.
Thanks.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and your business.
So I started my business during COVID.
Good time to start.
I know, I lost my job, and my wife had a great idea that like, hey, you should start a business and have a baby at the same time. So I decided to just kind of go out my own and just figure things out, which was great and all, but I got to a point where I was maximized in my space, and I didn't know what the next step was. So my wife let me do another crazy thing, which was use our down payment on a house in 2021 and dump it into a old dry cleaning space. And he transformed our old dry cleaning space into a modern physical therapy clinic where we treat your average weekend warrior, your CrossFitters, your athletes, and just kind of create a model that we work on manual therapy and movement together. So that's kind of where we were. And now we're a clinic after, oh my gosh, like 4 or 5 years, 5 years of like 2 therapists and about 5 or 6 staff.
Amazing. Take me back to the start. Let's talk about the phase that was not to, let's say, $300,000. Tell me about the challenges in that period and the lessons that you learned.
I think the biggest thing was trying to get clients, right? I just didn't know how to market. I didn't know what to do. So I literally just hopped from one gym to the next gym and was like, hey, I'll work out here, try to get some clients here, work out there, get some clients there. And honestly, I was just building my reputation.
So that's what you did. Strategically, you joined different gyms.
Literally, so I had 2 gym memberships, and the gym membership that gave me the most clients, I ended up joining them full time.
Yep.
And it was just $250 a month, which was a lot. But those clients ended up resonating with me, which was a CrossFit gym.
So how did you do that? Just on a treadmill next to somebody? Say, hey, you look like you're limping a little bit. Like, there's my business card.
So the CrossFit gym that I joined, I had a friend that went there, and we did a seminar there, and they connected really well. I was like, oh shoot, maybe I should join and just go to their classes.
Yeah.
And I started going to their classes. I ended up falling in love with CrossFit, which Intel made me a good resource to them. I just connected with them well.
Yeah.
And when I connected with them well, I just ended up starting quarterly like injury screenings at the place, and they just ended up just sending clients. Even though my clinic was like 10 miles away from there, it still is 10, 15 miles. I feel like the relationships I built there literally just, they started following me into my clinics.
Yeah. What was the biggest lesson that you learned in that period of time? What did you learn about yourself?
That I was a good PT, and that hey, honestly, getting in the community too, it was the hardest thing for me. I was like, I think the hardest thing for me is putting myself out there.
Yeah.
I always thought, I was just always worried about and timid about it, but the importance of putting yourself out there and just going and getting after it. I think that's the biggest thing. Like as a normal physical therapist, you just hope people just come in. But as a clinic owner, I had to make the shift of like, oh shoot, I need to market myself and actually put myself out there in order to get people in.
Yeah.
Which was hard for me personally. That's just a hard thing that I had to get through the initial phase.
What about prices at that point?
So I was charging $150 per session,
Yeah.
which I thought it was a lot at the time. So I dropped back down to $125 for a season, and then went back up to $150. That's where I was.
How did you choose them? What made you think that
Literally what made me feel good. So I was like, hey, what can I spend on PT? I think I could spend this much, even though I probably couldn't have. But I was like, that felt like a good price.
Just for context, for the person watching the show, where are you at now?
We're charging $250 per session.
So we've nearly doubled. Yeah. And there's probably still a little bit more
to go. Yes.
Okay, good. So we're at not to 300 still. Any staff at this point?
So we have 2 full-time physical therapists, another one on the way.
No, in that phase, not to 300,000.
North 300,000. We had 1 administrative staff. So from north of 300,000, we added 1 physical therapist.
Yeah.
That brought us up to like 500,
Yeah.
600,000. And and a admin as well. So we had about 3 staff getting to 500 about.
What was your first hire? What positions?
So my first hire,
time.
full-time hire was a physical therapist.
Yep.
Which was a bad idea at the time. I should have hired an admin.
Why was that? Why was it a bad idea?
I felt like, hey, new therapist came in and I expected her to take all the calls, expected her to schedule, and that wasn't the case.
So you expected her to be a highly paid admin?
Exactly. Yeah. So
the highest paid admin in New York, essentially.
But hey, I think we had the admin role, but that didn't work out. I brought in the full time, so it was just us two running the ship and then shortly after, 3 months after, I was like, crap, I need to get someone in. And that's when we brought on our virtual operations person that takes up all of our sales and our accounts receivable and manages all that.
Yeah. And was that a difficult decision? Was it challenging? Cash flow? How did you feel emotionally about hiring somebody?
Yeah, so I think the first hire was the scariest. I think the PT was a hire. I remember I looked at my money in my bank. I was like, crap, if I don't pay myself for 3-4 months, I should be good. So I didn't pay myself for the first 3 months that I brought her in, was able to ramp her up, and then.
So did you plan for that then in advance? You knew, did you discuss that with your wife, or was that just like, okay, this is what I need to do, we're gonna have to take a pay cut? Or did you start to sort of mentally prepare yourself for that?
I think I mentally prepared. I knew, I knew my prices were low, but I knew that I needed to bring on another therapist because I was capped out. To get to the next phase of business, I needed to bring someone else in. And for the time being, we built up a good enough savings in the first 2-3 years. I was like, hey, if I take a pay cut for 3-4 months, hey, we can make it work. My wife held down the fort. And
what was that conversation like with your wife?
My wife was like, not again.
How did it go? Were you just watching Netflix and it's like, hey, honey, just
go out on a date and be like, hey, we're not going to be able to do this for the next 3 months, just letting you know.
Yeah.
But hey, I think the biggest thing that helped me start my business was my wife. And my wife has 100% been supportive, more than reasonable. And I think I wouldn't be here in my business if it wasn't for my wife's courage, but also willingness to just help me with this.
I think for me, and sort of my own personal situation, and just watching the community that I speak to almost daily, it's the biggest determining factor of success is the stability in the home. That's the number one thing that you've got to focus on and get right, and find somebody or just figure out a way with whoever you're with, for them to understand the responsibility that you have as a business owner, but
and
then
believe in you.
Yeah, and believe in you. But then equally, and this is what I love, is occasionally from time to time be able to remind you of your responsibility to the family in the home. And you've been at work a little bit too much recently, it's time to come back. But equally know that there is a responsibility to the needs of the business that creates the lifestyle that we live today.
Definitely.
So we've crossed $300,000 and we're headed towards $1 million, not far off at this point. Talk to me about this phase. What's the difference? How would you explain it to somebody? There's somebody watching this show right now who's $250,000 approaching that next jump, if you like, where things start to change. How would you explain the difference between that early phase, where let's say it's a baby, and we're trying to become a toddler in the next phase?
I think for me, it was identity shift. I think the biggest thing is not seeing myself as a physical therapist, but as a business owner. And that was a hard shift for me because I went to school for PT. I studied for 7 years and I have a doctorate in physical therapy. And to be like, hey, I'm not going to be treating and I'm just going to let someone treat part of the time, or even when a trainer reached out, I'm like, hey, I need you to see this client. I think it was just identity shift for me. I needed to make me like, hey, I need to transition my mindset into being a business owner, which is, I didn't even know what that meant or what that is or what duties. And I didn't feel as much gratification from being a business owner at the time. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I think that's the biggest shift I had to make and really put time away to do that stuff.
What was your initial identity then? Where did that, do you think, get formed? What was it when you first went into business?
I think my identity was that I was a phenomenal PT and I got results. Like once I got the patient better, oh my gosh, like I had the best day in the world. I felt so much joy from that. I think it was great. And then I hired the second PT and then that joy was still there, but it was a little bit more stressful because cash flow was tight and I'm like, crap, I'm gonna pay this person's salary. So, but yeah, that was the difficult part initially.
It's funny, we were talking about today what happens to a PT who struggles to become a business owner in their own head, one of the reasons is, my experience was, you'd go in a restaurant and somebody would say, oh, that's Paul the physio, or Paul, while I've got you, can I ask you about my back, or Paul, you sorted my brother's leg out, or you helped my mum get back to work. There was an instant gratification about being a physio that when I was in my town, anywhere I went, most people knew what I was, and there was a little bit of a kudos to being like the physio. But when I became a business owner, nobody cared. It was just like, who gives a shit about a business owner in reality, right? It's not as cool or as a status thing or as a kudos thing as potentially being a really good physio. But the problem with obviously being the physios, we're quite stuck and we're quite limited. And if we've got an ambition to be more and to do more and to be more free and out of the treatment room, then that identity has to shift. What about your role inside of the business as a leader? How did that change?
I think, I had to be a better leader and set examples and set roles and responsibilities and honestly have hard conversations. I think for me, it's easy. I've always been the type to stay away from confrontation. And as we have employees, and those difficult conversations need to be had up front. And I think that was the hardest thing for me. I think to have those conversations, hold people accountable, and be okay with telling people, hey, this needs to be better. I think from my personal standpoint, I felt like that's what I struggled with initially.
Yeah. What about your efforts to get out of the treatment room then? The business doesn't rely upon you being in there anymore full time. What about your efforts to leave 9 to 5, the lessons you've learned on that?
I think first I've learned that, hey, it starts with me, it starts with my identity. And once I change my identity, hey, what are the tasks and the tactics I need to put in place? And for me, it was like, hey, I need to get out of the office twice a week. I knew if I worked in the office to do my administrative, my marketing, I always fall back into, oh shoot, this client needs to be here, this client needs to be here. So I needed to find a staff that I ultimately trusted to be able to take the reins in the clinic, so that 2 days a week that I can be out of the office in a co-working space, just working on the marketing and the business stuff.
Yeah.
And that was a hard shift for me, because I'm like, hey, giving my baby to people that I think that I trust, but I do trust now, truly, but it's a hard thing, right? It's hard to let go.
What about dealing with the patients? How did you tackle that conversation, who might have got used to seeing you?
Yeah, I think, hey, that was hard, but I think us as a team having a conversation with our patients of like, hey, 2 months prior to this happening, it was like, hey, Kelsey, Brent, I'm having the conversation, hey, my role has changed. My role is to work on the business and know the business, and being upfront with my patients that like, hey, this is the next step this business is going, and we wouldn't be able to provide that service unless I step into that. And I think it's being upfront. It's scary. It was scary then. It's easier to say now. But.
What about family or friends? Does anybody now accuse you of being lazy, or sort of question what you do for a living, that you don't treat patients anymore? Is there anything going on there?
My in-laws and my parents are like, hey, what do you do? Like, they're like, I come and drop something off, and my parents are like, aren't you supposed to be working? I'm like, I am working, just not thing. Or they ask me the PT question. I'm like, I know, but it's just changing their mindset. Like, hey, there's so much other things that I do. But I got to a point where it's, hey, I've stopped caring what they think. And I think that's the biggest shift that I made, where like, hey, it is what it is. Like, they can think of me who I want, whatever they want. But hey, I know that what I'm doing, I'm on the right track. And I think that's the biggest thing, of the not caring what even your family thinks of you, is huge.
My best ever, and I got this from Tim Ferriss, so I'll quote him. My best ever response when I used to get asked by friends and family, what do I do now then? I'm a drug dealer, and I'm working on selling as many drugs as I can. And it used to just shut the conversation down in seconds. Like, nobody ever had a response for it. And you find that if you're not careful, you're justifying yourself all of the time to people, and you're losing energy with that. But you also actually begin to doubt yourself the more that you justify it. And trying to explain to a non-business owner what the responsibilities are of a business owner is impossible. It's the equivalent of explaining what it's like living in India or in Dubai, and if you haven't been, like, I can try and help you understand how busy it is, or hot it is, or the smells, or whatever, but you can't really understand it, and you'll never be able to fully grasp it. So I just decided a long time ago, to have fun with people with my responses. The other one is just I'm doing nothing. I've actually turned into a really lazy human being, and I'm loving every second of it. And they don't know how to deal with that, you know, when you come back with those types of responses, and it allows you to move on very quickly to a real conversation that you can actually take part in. Tell us about the future. What's next? We're gonna cross this $1 million mark, and then, you know, what's next?
Hey, I'm excited for the next 6 months of, hey, we have a new PT coming, and we're gonna eventually get to that point where we're crossing that $1 million mark. What I'm excited for is being able to, hey, take a further step away from the clinic and personally be a half mile from my house, which is super
New house,
new house,
new car.
being able to drop my kids off right across the street and pick them up at 4:30, being able to spend time with them, and more importantly, have experiences with them, right? Like, hey, having experience that we weren't able to have a couple of years ago, but hey, more importantly, just doing what I want when I want, and being able to build a business and market the business, because that's equally as fun as it is, right? So the balance of enjoying life, but knowing that part of enjoying life is working hard and accomplishing stuff.
What drives you on?
Honestly, growing the business it's been a joy and it's been fun. I think it's hard, but I found through the years that, like, my joy comes from accomplishing the hard stuff. And then another thing is, hey, my family. I think I love spending time with my family. I enjoy giving them experiences that they've never had before. And that's made possible by a business that's ever growing, and made by building other leaders up in my business that are excelling beyond belief. So I think that's what drives me.
What you can only answer one. What do you think's the biggest driving force? The why, if you like. Is it for your family, or is it for you to be the best business owner that you can be?
It's for me to be the best business owner. That's what drives me the most. That's why I do this.
Great answer. I find that the people who are honest in that intention, that the ambition is pure, that it's to be the best, most successful business owner that they can be, typically end up the best, most successful business owner. And as a really happy byproduct of that, there is an inevitability that the family get to benefit from it. My experience has been that people, when they kind of tell themselves that it's for the family, inevitably don't always want to do the work that's required. Like, things come along and hassles come along of business ownership and various things that they're just not always. It's when you lead with, I want to be the best and I want to be the clinically or sort of business skilled, and I want to really embrace leadership and cash flow forecasting and KPIs and marketing plans. When I embrace that and I get a real juice and a buzz out of being the best business owner, there's an inevitability to my business being successful. And because of that, the people that I love stand to benefit because of that. And I think to this day, it's the lead domino, if you like, to actually give your family the why for many people, the best chance of the life that you want. So what is future-wise? Locations? Are we adding more? Are we, like, what are we doing? How are we gonna expand this? Or are you just happy to maximize everything that you've got?
Personally, I think hey, long-term vision, I've always been to grow another clinic, but I think for me is like, hey, how do we get this clinic up and running without me there, right? If it works in this 900 square foot facility, can we rinse and repeat that somewhere? But as long as I'm not pushing the bus, right? Can we get someone within our organization to be built up to be, hey, second location, here's your profit share, great, go forth. But me building the marketing systems and the backend systems to support a second clinic, I think that's where I see. But also, hey, there's so many avenues you can take. Another one is, hey, regen services, right? Being able to add additional services that our clients are ready that we have to buy from. And I feel like that's a thing that, how do you sell more things to the same people that we have? And that's another big thing that we're thinking. But
it's a smart move, even the second location fully dedicated to wellness. There's people popping up with those, like almost a pop-up shop, if you like, for wellness. You've got the leads, you've got the marketing system, you've got the flow of people who would come there. I think it would be easier to start a business like that on the back of a successful physio business than probably start another second location. Amazing, well done. You're doing absolutely fantastic, a real superstar. And I mean that. I applaud your commitment. Just to let you know as well, for everybody watching, this guy's travelled to Dublin. This guy has travelled to London recently to come to our events. Almost every event in the US that we've had for the last few years. And what he hasn't brought up on this podcast, what he should be really excited about in the future, is he will be on stage at PPM Live. I think I'm a bit more excited about it than...
I'll get there. Give me a few more weeks.
What's the fear? The public speaking, or?
It's the public speaking, but hey, I think, I grew up with humility and not boasting too much, but I think, I'm excited to go up on stage and hopefully I'll be there.
I think it's a wonderful acknowledgement of the success that you've achieved, and I get the humility thing, and I love all of that, and I appreciate all of that, but I think every now and again you just rip the band-aid off and you go, do you know what, I deserve every ounce of everything I've put into this. If not, we're denying it, and it's not bragging. If it's true, it's not bragging. That's the big thing. We can all keep our heads down and deny our success and all of these types of things, but if it's true and you've earned it and you have, it ain't bragging. Essentially what we're doing is sharing, and that's the beauty of what you've done and the beauty of this podcast and everything that we do. We're trying to bring one person on the journey with us who can inspire the next, and that's what the whole community is about. So well done. Appreciate you. Thank you
for all the help.
Pleasure. Anytime.
Hey, this is Paul Gough. Thanks for watching. If you like my content, be sure to subscribe to the channel. And if you're looking for even more, be sure to head over to Amazon and you can find my 7 best-selling books for physical therapists in private practice. Head over to Amazon and find me now.